Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming in. A couple of wee minutes late, but we're here anyway. We're hoping that Jeff can join us some point during the show. But we do have, I was going to point over there, but you're over there, you're over there. We do, we do have with us Mr. John Ozuna, one of the stars of the CIA film Demon Fighter.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's a great honor. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Very touched. Very touched. No, it's good to have you on. Well, we spoke to other people for the films like Gene and Angie. We've had David and Craig on the show a few times, and
yeah.
And that's what I like. I said this to Gene and Angie when they were on about a month ago. That everybody for CRA, they're all very laid back. It's like a family.
Yeah, it's we all came together from different directions, and I think Jeannie Young, I had worked with her before on a previous movie, and she's phenomenal. My goodness, wow, what a talent! She is. There's nothing that she can't do. And for her to do what she did in this in Demon Fighter, not only from her acting abilities, but the physical end, what she had to do. Wow, she is just an all-around fantastic actor and performer. Demon Fighter was a fantastic project to work on. We became we lived together. We essentially lived together because the main cast all lived in the same Airbnb. And it's a place where we housed some of the lead actors as well as the crew and the director. And so the director, David Espinosa, was there, and Craig Aarons was there. And these guys are like sleeping, in the living room with laid out sleeping bags, just so they can, save a little bit of money. And we all came together and really made this fantastic project. I'm very proud to have been a part of that project. It was great.
As I'm not going to give too much. See, when we had After Love and Quarantine came on with Gene and with Angie on, and I watched the film a few times, and it's hard to talk about a film but not give it away, if that makes sense. For those that haven't seen it.
Exactly. Just essentially, Demon Fighter, produced by CRA Entertainment. Essentially, it revolves around my character. I play Father Michael, who is a tormented individual. He's had a horrible beginning of his life. As a young boy, he's witnessed his mom being thrown into prostitution. She's a drug addict. She OD'd on heroin. So he was a witness to all those things. And then he was taken to foster care. And then eventually, he started doing bad things and wound up in a prison sentence or system. And eventually, was saved by a priest. And then he entered into the priesthood to try to make things go right. And here he is trying to right the wrong within himself as well as other people. And what makes him unique is the fact that he has a real rough exterior, not what we would think a priest would be, and he's a fighter. So he actually does club fighting, underground club fighting, to raise money for the church so that he can always give back to the church. So he's really rough around the edges. He knows how to fight, demons and everything else in front of him.
It's, as you say, he got off to a very rough start in life with his mum and what have you. And, he's had to grow up to be tough, because he is fighting his own demons. That's what I noticed in the film. He's fighting his own demons. And he's not your typical, as you say, John, he's not your typical everyday priest.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. It was such a challenge to play him. And because it really took a lot, not to give away much of the details of the scenes, but there's scenes there that, that dealt with subject matters that were very personal to me, as far as losing people in my life tragically and at a young age, and fighting for their lives. And there are scenes there where you see me responding to whatever's going on, and those were genuine emotional feelings. That was not acting. Anybody that's a committed actor will draw from their personal experiences to throw into the character. But I found myself being thrown into the past, and I there was a time where we did this one scene where I got very emotional, and I couldn't stop myself, and it's one of the strangest feelings in the world where I could not control myself. And what was great about it was, while we finished that scene, we're getting ready for another. So they've got to do all the setups and whatnot for the scene. They just left me by myself, and they let me just kind of spend that time alone to sort out my feelings. But I used them in the next scene, so it worked out great. In the long run. But it was one of the most, by far, challenging roles I've ever played. And David Espinosa is the writer and director of this, but very coincidentally, he's also my acting coach, and he is just simply the best. He knows how to really help an actor establish their character. He helps an actor try to manifest everything within themselves to do what's best for the scene, and he makes it as real as anybody can make it. And I give him all the credit in the world for my being able to execute that, and
Yes.
it was great.
He's very crazy. When I talked to David quite a wee bit because we're doing a thing over here called the Wallace Trail, and he mailed it a few weeks back, saying if you want any help, advice, come to me. So I've spoken to him a few times, and he's gave me a lot of advice on it. And when you're talking to him, you can sense the passion that he's got for it. And he said to me, day or night, if you get any questions, we were meant to start filming a couple of weeks ago, but one of the guys, he's hurt his shoulder, so he's kind of put it off for a few weeks, which isn't a problem. It's not a big thing. But David says, day or night, you send me the stuff, I'll go over it. If it needs tweaked, I'll tell you exactly where I think. And it's a big bonus for us, because we're nothing special. We're just a small paranormal team. But to have somebody with Dave, Dave's been doing it for over 40 years now.
Yeah.
And to have him and Craig, it's just, it's a bank of knowledge, basically. And they are really, really down to earth kind of people, Dennis. You can see it on YouTube and Amazon Prime. That's the two I know. I'm sure John might be able to tell you some other platforms it's on.
Yeah. So I think you can catch it on Amazon Prime. Right now you can catch it free on Hulu and YouTube. So yeah, it's just a matter of just punching in Demon Fighter, and you'll see that come up right away. And they really were very artistic in the presentation of the beginning. I actually love the beginning sequence, the opening sequence of this, because you have to see for yourself, but it's animated. So you have an animation that's in the beginning that just transitioned into reality, and it's such a cool opening to a film. And I really, really love the way they approach this, and they really spent some time. I want to say, from the time that we wrapped to the time we finally released, and we're talking about almost like a 2-year period. And part of it had to do with COVID, as far as the length of time it took to pull it all together. But a large part was making sure they did it right. They want to make sure before it was released to the world that they wanted every nut and bolt to be tightened and everything to be in the way that they felt would be the best presentation of the film. And I really respect that. I really appreciate them having done that because it really came out pretty good.
It does come out pretty good, but okay, it was a long, long wait because I know COVID, messed up a
Yeah.
whole planet full of stuff, um, so I'll get this cough and it just keeps coming and going.
That's okay.
Because I was mailing Craig every week, every couple of weeks, because I know Love and Quarantine, Demon Fighter were running at the same time, and I kept saying, right, what's coming first? What's coming first? And
Exactly.
he said, I don't know, we're working. And then I said, right, when's Demon Fighter? Because it seemed to go on for months. And I kept saying, right, Craig, when am I going to see Demon Fighter? Give me a ballpark figure, give me a ballpark date at least, And he's like, oh, maybe around about August time. I say, well, don't promise me and don't deliver.
Exactly right.
I'm going to be waiting. I'll be checking it in August. But the other, just as I say, that's what I like with the whole CRA team, actors, everything. I think we've had them all on through Evil Down the Street, the Crumbs, Love and Quarantine, Demon Fighter. And every single one of these, you get. I'm a big film buff. I love Hollywood films and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Some Hollywood stars, they're up there, and they know what, directors, and no doubt you've met a few of them.
I've had the great privilege. It's a film is a film, but I had the great privilege of working with Keanu Reeves on Matrix 4. And that was an unbelievable experience. And I was on set for about 12 days. It was over here in San Francisco. And I mean, talk about a multi-million dollar movie where one scene of that, they brought in a lot of the practical stunts and a lot of the practical work where Keanu Reeves is on a motorcycle and my character is trying to chase him and fight him and throw punches at him while he's weaving in and out of certain areas. So you have that where there's racing with a motorcycle. There's 3 cars that are chasing him. There's a crowd of people that are also trying to chase him. At the same time, you have a helicopter placed between 2 buildings and trying to chase everybody. This was all happening all at the same time. And the thing about it is they did not tell us about the helicopter that was going to chase us. So we're going, what the hell is that coming at us? We didn't even know it was part of the film because they wanted us to have genuine reactions to what was going on. And it was unbelievable how much of the practical aspects were involved there, along with the special effects. And I had the great privilege of working with Tom Hardy and Woody Harrelson on Venom 1 and Venom 2. So, it's a mixed bag. It really, really is. There really is no difference between a big Hollywood production and a smaller independent film because the passion is the same. The drive and the passion to want to get that film out and put your all into it is all there. What makes it different is the money, essentially. I mean, it's if you have a lot more money, you're able to invest in bigger name actors, bigger, great locations, and big stunt work and special effects. And I want to say that one of the biggest costs of any film is post-production. It's what the editor does, the score, the music, how that's inlaid, how they all fit those puzzle pieces together to make a movie. Because it's one thing to just shoot a movie, shoot all the scenes. It's quite another thing on how they're going to tell that story and how to put those pieces together. And it's down to the microsecond where they make little adjustments of transitions that it just blows my mind because I think, wow, that's tedious work, but it makes sense to get the most out of whatever scene that you're doing. So yeah, I love the movies, and but it doesn't matter. It's I've told David this, David Espinosa, countless times that I learned more from the set of Demon Fighter than I have in any other project that I've worked on, in terms of education, how to be a better performer, how to be a better actor, how to be a better stunt performer. I really learned a lot, and every time I'm on the set, I've got my notebook out. I'm taking notes. If I'm on a big production with really well-known actors, I'm watching them. Where everybody else might be, if you're not on set in front of the camera, then they put you in a green room, where they call holding, where you just wait there until you're called out. But I stay on set because I want to watch the best actors, what their ritual is to get ready for a scene. I want to see how they do take to take. I want to see how they listen and adjust per the director's instructions on how to just change their voice a little bit, how to change their mannerisms a little bit. I'm just taking notes, and because I
So
want to just be better at what I'm doing.
I know exactly, exactly, because it's all learning. You're taking notes, and whether it's Keanu Reeves, Tom Hardy, whoever it may be, and even though you've been in the movie business for a long time,
Mm.
there's still plenty of room to learn. I feel
Oh,
you can be the best actor. You can be Tom Hanks or whoever. I'm a big Tom Hanks fan, by the way, but
yeah. He's great. He's fantastic.
I think he's just an amazing actor. But you can get somebody like Tom Hanks that might come along to one of your movie sets, and he's standing watching and thinking, I've been doing this for 50 years, but I never thought of doing it that way. I'm going to try doing something, and it's all about learning.
Yeah.
It's not the same, and it's meant to be in the paranormal, about learning and sharing and picking up little kind of bits and pieces. One question I do need to ask you with Keanu Reeves, it's often publicised how laid back he is, and he takes the train to work and wherever. Is he like that in real life?
You know what? We worked closely together. We really did, and we spent some really good time on set. Um, he's a very protected person, so wherever he is, he's got a group of people around him to protect him, because there's a lot of people that want to get his attention and get a picture or get an autograph or whatever. But this is, I remember day one of filming with Keanu Reeves. We had a scene that we did in a restaurant, and the director was going through the scene with us, and she didn't refer to Keanu Reeves as Keanu Reeves. She just said Neo, when Neo comes in, and I said, okay, great. When he came into that, it was a little restaurant. He came in. He made a point to say hello to every person that was there and thank him for being there. And it was such a warm feeling. And I remember we did an exterior shot just moments out later. It just so happened that it was a time when school was letting out. So you had all these kids that were across the street, and they saw that they were filming. They saw that it was Keanu Reeves. And he took the time to just wave to them and say hi to them. And he's a cool guy. He really is. He's the sort of person that I would aspire to be. Just to be kind to people. Because there's no reason. There's no reason to be, upset or uptight with individuals. I mean, things get a little hectic and whatnot, but I think the true character of a person is how they treat another person. That's the character of an individual. And he has lived up to his reputation. He is a really kind soul. That's what he is.
You know, you got to write the true thing. A person is, and I mean, I found that the first time I spoke to David and Craig. You know, it must have been about 2 years ago or something. If I first got in touch with him, and Craig mailed me back, and he's so yeah, sure, let's do a video call. And so I was like, I was like, Craig Arms and David Espinosa, like, let me do a video call. You know, I mean, I'm originally from Glasgow. You know, I'm just a wee guy originally from Glasgow. And so it's the usual kind of 5 minutes, like 5 minutes to go. And you don't want to be late. You know, if you say call me at 5 p.m., you don't want it to be 4:59 or 5.
Exactly.
You want it to be 5 p.m. So you're watching and
Exactly.
David, the two of them came on screen, and within a couple of minutes, David was like, "Oh, I love this guy," you know, and it was as if we'd known each other for months and months.
Yeah.
You know, and sure, we'll do a show with you. No bother. They came on the show with a good laugh and what have you, and then Craig mailed me back. He says, "Listen, do you want the cast of Evil Down the Street and the Crumbs on?" And I went, "Aye, you know." So you know, and we've built up quite a strong friendship, as you say. You know, it's just that saying hello to you, it's talking to you like you're a person to person, no movie director to little guy from Glasgow. You know, it's just person to person that makes such a difference, and that's how I think CRA got on so great as a team, because they've got that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're just so right about that, because from the very first film, Evil Down the Street, I had the great privilege of working with the lead, Elena Gerard, for that on Demon Fighter. She had a kind of a small part, but she came in as a producer, and you could see that there's just this connection between everybody of every film that they've made to this point, that has just really given their all. And and it's just it's a great privilege to work with any one of these talents. Jeff Hatch, I know he was supposed to be on this show. Jeff is phenomenal. Oh my goodness, let me tell you, he is a multi-talented actor and performer. He has a way of telling a story, and he does it in a way where he's, he becomes the character who he's describing. Now I'll a lot of times I'll do that. I'll speak in somebody else's voice, and right now I'm working with a gentleman, an actor, a pretty well-known actor in the States. His name is Costas Mandalore, and he's done movies like Saw, and he's worked with Jack Nicholson, in previous movies. So he's really done really well. But he's got a deep voice, and he's from Australia. So he calls me Johnny Boy, and right before we do a scene, he'll get in really close and go, "Hey, Johnny Boy, let me tell you something. When I say this, I want you to look at me. I want you to look down, and I want you to look back at me, and then I want you to say that. Got that, Johnny Boy?" And so that's the way he is. And and I love like telling stories about him, because I can kind of become him. But Jeff Hatch has definitely that ability, and he's I'm sure you'll catch him another time, but he's really good at it.
I mean, I know that with Jeff, because I've spoke to Jeff before after the Crumbs came out, and
Yeah.
He played Benjamin Crumb.
Yeah.
Such, we're going for the Crumbs, where they were kind of like serial killers, to Demon Fighter, where he's kind of totally different in a way. I'll try not to say too much, because I know Dennis is he's just seen the trailer for it, for Demon Fighter, so it's definitely going to watch. I just want to bring up this one. Laura, she's one of our team. She says she's about 5 minutes for us. She says, "We being up to 5'4". I'm actually 5'6". I want to make that clear. Not 5'4". I'm 5'6". I just want to pull her up on that one. But Jeff's an amazing guy. Just spoke to him after he'd done the Crumbs.
Yeah.
Then we done a CRA film quiz with David and Craig, and quite a few. We both the first two films on, and that just turned into a mess basically because my chair broke about halfway through it, and I just kind of disappeared. But I managed to kick the camera lead out on my way down to the ground. So I left David and everybody up on the screen, and I was just gone for about 2 minutes, but it seemed like 10 minutes, It was funny, but looking back, but at the time, you're scrambling about looking for something else to sit on because your chair just gave up the ghost, pardon the pun, But you're also very, very talented at something else. A martial artist.
Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'll keep it right. It's all right, John. Don't worry. I'll keep you.
You know what? Yeah, martial arts is a huge passion of mine. I've been a martial artist for over 40 years. I have. I'm a teacher of martial arts, so I've had my martial arts school, which is called KO Kung Fu, out here over in California, and I've had that school for over 30 years. I've had the great privilege of traveling all over the world in competitions. I'm a full contact fighter, so that's why I need a lot of makeup on my face before I get a close up because of all the fighting that I did. And it's been an amazing experience of self-discovery. What martial arts teaches anybody. I mean, you kind of go down the list of things that discipline and humility and modesty and things of that sort. But what it does, it teaches you a lot about yourself, and you find out things that you do well, and you find out things that you don't do all that great, and you try to create a balance between those two. It teaches an amazing work ethic where you push yourself to a point that you felt that you could not ever arrive at, especially when you're fighting competitively. When you're doing full contact fighting, I mean, your life is kind of on the line there. So the mental, emotional, and physical preparation has got to be so right for you to have that sense of making sure that you do everything you can do so that you do the best that you can. And you have to have that mindset that nobody can beat you, that you go in there and you feel like you're Superman in a way. And so it's been an amazing journey through it. I've like I said, I've been everything from representing the United States at a European Championship tournament, as well as the World Championships. One was in Malaga, Spain, and the other one was in Taipei, Taiwan. And I've taken it as high as I was able to take it. I've also have a couple of Guinness World Records. And were you going to mention that? I was wondering whether you're going to mention that.
Oh no, I was going to. I'll let you tell them.
Okay, so I've held two Guinness World Records. One was for the most punches delivered in a minute's time, and it was 713 punches. And the other was for the fastest punch in the world. And I believe I still hold that one. And it's like, it doesn't sound like it's very fast. It's like 43.3 miles per hour. So to give you an idea, one of the fastest punchers in the world is a boxer, Mayweather Jr. So he can punch about 26 miles per hour. So I was almost able to double that from that perspective. So, and the only reason I ever did this, it was to bring attention to a program that we had that was a kind of a community safety awareness program. And it was something that my daughter and I were talking about. And and we were just chatting about it. And I said, sweetheart, I want to bring attention to this program, and what do you suggest I can do? And she said, Dad, why don't you just break a couple world records? I said, "Oh, sure, why not?" And to find out that it was a tough, uptaking, and it required a lot of training, a lot of education. I was tested by the Stanford University Biomotion Lab. I was collaborated with the IBM Research Center scientists.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually recorded by NASA physicists with the camera that they use to record like a shuttle launching. They use the same exact camera to record the fastest punch in the world. And so it was an educational experience.
It was David that told me about the world records, by the way. It was David Espinosa that told me about your world records. And that's the one thing I was wanting to ask you. I mean, 700 plus punches in 1 minute. You can't even comprehend that. How do you something like that?
It's almost like getting hit 12 times in a second. So just 12 times, it's just, if you blink, you'll miss it.
I'm a big Formula One fan. You probably wonder what Formula One's going to do with this.
Yeah.
I love my Formula One, and they get down to a thousandth of a second.
Yes.
Times qualifying the rest of it. And so after David had told me, about the punches, I was trying to, I was thinking Formula One, a thousandth of a second. How many punches would that work out per half a second per sec? And you can drive yourself nuts, try to work it out, And so that's where the Formula One bit comes in, the timing. So as I was going to ask, how many punches did that work out per second? But how did you even train for something like that?
It took so much, because it's one of those things where in order for you to be fast, you have to be as relaxed as possible. Because if your body tenses up in any way, and it happens with your shoulders shrug, it will slow you down, and you'll won't be efficient in the way you punch. So I had to literally practice how to control my breathing, to develop my lung capacity in the ways that lung endurance would not be a factor. I trained constantly. It took me 6 months of training before I even attempted the record. And I actually recorded several times where I was close to like 800 punches a minute. And the official record was 713, but I, when I was going through the practices myself, we were getting up to like close to 800 punches, and that's 12, roughly about 12 punches a second. And it's literally being very relaxed, so that when you do whatever movement, you can do that, and it's just fast. If I tensed up and do this, you could see every little movement. Okay, but if you relax, you can do it really, really fast, and it takes literally years of training of how to manipulate your body in a way that could be the case. And in a lot of cases, when I do fight scenes in a movie, this last film that I just made in Romania, the director goes, because I was doing a sequence where I was working with two guys, and I was going back and forth between each person, going back and forth. And I did it really, really fast. And he goes, whoa, wait a minute, hold on. John, stop. He goes, what are you doing? He goes, the camera can't keep up with what you're doing. So they had to actually adjust the settings of the camera so they can capture it. Otherwise, it would look too blurry. So I thought, wow. I asked him, do you want me to slow down? He said, no, we'll just adjust the camera settings. But it was unusual. It's just been a great process.
It's just I mean, 12 punches per second. I mean, a second like that, 12 punches and that. It just, it's just astounding, really. You can't even comprehend it. I know you can. But it's just, you know, I take my hat off to you. Which I'm not, obviously. But no, I think it's amazing. When David told me, I thought he was kidding me on. He says, "No, seriously." I was like, "Where you go? You know, you're pulling my legs. This or not." So that's when the wee wheels, the wee clock started turning and turning, you know. But no, congratulations on that one. But I know I would do it. You know, it's never, you know, probably take me about 56 years to these 700 punches, never mind 60 minutes, what is 60 years? I mean, so yeah. So when you get the script to a film, how long does it? How do you go about preparing? Like the Demon Fighter, you know, as you say, it was quite. There was a lot in it that was quite personal to yourself for the past. When you first read the script, you know, how did you feel knowing that you sort of stuff that was familiar to you?
You know, it's a strange process because I think every actor approaches it a little bit differently, and what I do is I'll read a script from beginning to end 3 times, and I'll just read it beginning to end, beginning to end, beginning to end, and so I get a general idea of the story as a whole, and it's kind of an exciting process because you're literally like reading a story, and you're kind of living it as you're reading it. And it's almost like when you're watching like an action movie, and sometimes your body just reacts to something that you just saw, and your body flinches, and that's what happens when I read a script. But when it started to get to scenes where I was trying to save somebody from a demonic possession that was obviously a losing battle, I was not winning, and I was losing the soul, the spirit, and it was a a young boy, and my best friend was killed when I was 14 years old, and this young actor was portraying a kid about the same age. You know, and it's one of those things where if there's something that you could do to change the course of time, something that you would have said or something you would have done to change what had happened, you would have done anything. And all of those feelings, of the what if I had done this or what if I had done that, um, really came into play during that scene. And when I was reading it, it just hit me. It just hit me right away. And that's so many decades ago for me. But when we filmed that scene, it just this wave of emotion came right back at me, and it was a real difficult scene for me to film because I tried to really pull it together, but every aspect of that moment was me trying to reverse time in a way with my best friend, and in trying to save his life, and knowing that I couldn't. And that was probably the most frustrating parts of it, was knowing that I couldn't change the outcome of it, and I was losing this battle. So in reading the script, I mean that's a process of it. You just kind of read it from beginning to end, and then you start kind of going through the scenes that you're in, and you just, what I do is I take the time to really ask myself, what's the significance of the scene? Who am I talking to in the scene? What is my purpose and my intention in that scene? What is my character trying to get? Is he trying to save somebody? Is he trying to convince somebody not to do something wrong because it's going to change the rest of his life? Is he trying to fight somebody so that he can win money to give back to somebody else? It's just, what is it all about? So that would be the mindset of my character, and that would be the natural response that I would have when I interact with the different actors. So it's such a process. It's funny because it starts from here, and it's little by little it starts to get a little bit, the circle gets smaller to the point where you're just really focusing on how you're approaching it, and how you're delivering your your lines and whatnot.
Yes, I went to college many years ago, and I done media studies and what have you. And part of it was film studies. As I say, I've been a film fan since I was teenager. You know, original Friday 13th and all that kind of stuff. You know, Jason Voorhees was my hero. I know that sounds bad. A serial killer kills, you know, chops people up's my hero, but you know, I love Jason. And so when I went to college and we're doing film studies, and basically, you know what it is, they sort of rip the film apart and it takes you behind the scenes. This is why I watch a lot of how they made it. And I always remember my lecturer saying to me that everything in a film is there for a reason. There's nothing in a film that's just thrown in. Everything you see has been done for a specific reason.
Yeah.
And that's why I find it fascinating, the behind the scenes, because I've done it myself. We'll go to, you know, a new movie will come out, we go to the cinema, sit for an hour, 2 hours, whatever, you know, enjoy the movie and go home. But I like to try and think behind the scenes, how it was made, why the director did, you know, this way, and then that misdirection, you know, just suddenly turn it in another day. He's taking you down one road, but then he puts a bend in that road, you know, and takes you right off somewhere else. And I've always found that fascinating. I know a lot of people might think, oh, you're a dork, a nerd, whatever. But I think there is a lot more goes into a movie than just sitting in a cinema for 2 hours, you know.
Yeah, you're so right. You know, I love what you're saying, because I'm exactly the same way. I love to find out whenever there's a documentary that comes out about an iconic movie that we all know about. Jaws is a big one. You know, the story behind Jaws, the fact that the shark never really worked, and the delay in production, and it went over budget, and they didn't film when they were supposed to film. All the things that went wrong in order for it to become what it became, where it just became iconic, you know, and along with that, like even movies like Amityville Horror, Halloween, when you start getting into those iconic films, we find out that it wasn't an easy road, that they had to make some major changes, but those changes attributed to why it's such a popular movie now. And it's nice to know that you know, when you're on set, that other people struggle too, that you weren't the only one that was having a hard time.
It's always, you know, fascinated me, and as I say, my lecture says, and one film I always remember that sticks out, and people might laugh at this, but I don't know if you probably, it's 40-Year-Old Virgin. I don't know if you've ever seen it or not.
Which one again?
40-Year-Old Virgin. You
know, I know exactly the movie you're saying. I've never watched it, but I know exactly the movie you're talking about.
You see, that opens with him getting up in the morning and making his breakfast and stuff like that, and he's got bits and pieces set out on the table. And I know a lot of people might think, well, what's that to do with anything? It's a guy making breakfast. But to me, that portrays that this guy is, you know, he's single and he's got his own way of living. This is his life's very regimented.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what he does. And every knife and fork's got to be in a certain place, a certain point, a certain direction. You know, and it was wee bits and pieces like that I think are fascinating. Just to be the bits that people just watching, he's having cornflakes, you know, and that's it. But you think, why is he having cornflakes? Why is the director showing you that table? Why is he focused on a table with a knife, a fork, a spoon, and a napkin? Why? So because this is all this guy uses every morning.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And that's, you know, you're really hitting on a really great point, because when somebody makes a movie, it's a business. So anybody making a movie rather, you really want to have the largest audience that you can. So you're trying to really appeal to many age ranges, and in demographics, and certain people will go, that is significant to me. I can identify with that. That, to me, that's an important part. Where others will go, okay, yeah, whatever. Okay, he's having breakfast. Let's move on here. So you're going to have that, and I appreciate that about what you're saying, because for me, it's those little, daily habits that we have, our morning ritual, that defines who we are. And there's a reason why we do what we do when we do it, and it tells a lot about a person. And I feel that, and this sounds kind of grandiose. If you really want to make the world better, be more human. Listen to the little human things that we do, of the people that are doing them. And you'll find out that they mean a lot. Those little things mean a lot. And I love the fact that you observe that too. That's great.
I pick up quite a lot of things in films, and wee bits and pieces, and then I'll wind it back again and watch it again and say, right, why has he done that? And then sometimes it can take me about 4 hours to watch a film, because I'll put it back and say, right, why is he, right, that's why he's put that in, and that's why he's done that. I've always been fascinated with the whole filmmaking process, where it's scripting it, filming it, and all the wee bits and pieces that go into doing it. And I just think it's a whole amazing thing. So I've been into films for 40 odd, I don't know, I was 15, 16, I think, when I watched my first Friday 13th, and I was hooked on blood and guts and stuff. I like to watch films where people are losing parts of their body, basically. Well, I like a lot of other films, but if I have
cool.
I'll watch somebody's losing a limb. Like the Saw films, loved them. I've saw everyone.
It's
where people are getting screws into their head. It's all amazing stuff.
There's something about the season of
You're breaking up a wee bit.
Yeah.
Right, got you back. So for Demon Fighter, did you have to study anything to do with occult or paranormal or anything?
It's funny, because I grew up as a Catholic, with Catholicism, but the one thing, coincidentally, that I had the biggest struggle with are some of the prayers. I forgot a lot of the prayers, and that was probably one of the biggest challenges, was remembering the prayers that we were using in particular scenes. And I was going, my goodness, I can't believe I'm forgetting this. My grandmother would just be all over me on this. So that was one of the big ones.
But you get that sometimes. The most, the thing you're meant to know the most is the thing you forget the most.
Yeah, you're right. But one of the things that was really unique after this film, I've never had the experience where a lot of times you'll hear actors struggle to shape the character that they're playing. Heath Ledger, the Joker. There's a lot of different examples, and I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting, because for me, it was just kind of a turn on, turn off, switch that I would hit. And I thought, yeah, I've never really had that feeling. Demon Fighter, I did. I was so immersed into the character, so immersed into the story, the individual scenes, that I literally had nightmares about the filming of it and about the content of the movie. For 1 month after filming, every single night, it haunted me. It literally haunted me.
That's one of the questions I was going to ask you. With Father Michael, obviously, he's a good guy, but he's quite an intense character, because of his past experiences. I was going to ask you, you know, were you able to sort of switch off and switch on, or did it stick with you? So it was about a month or so after it, it still affected you for.
Absolutely. You know, and I thought, you know, I would have no problem just kind of switching on, switching off, you know, because I felt I had the discipline to do that. But this was one of the most unusual feelings that I had absolutely no control over the what was going on in my brain and the emotions that I was still feeling of having been that character. And subconsciously it would hit me at night when I was asleep, and guaranteed every single night. And I thought, after like a week of it, I was going, come on, this is too much. 2 weeks into it, I said, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to have to do this for a while. And it was 30 days, solid nights of going from almost like a nightmarish scenario to eventually it was just kind of about the movie. And but I have to say, you know, because a lot of people have asked me, you know, did I experience anything that I would define as supernatural or paranormal, or something that was not quite right on set? It was, for me, it was more of what happened once I was done, because it literally haunted me afterwards. And I think it was the subject matter too, because you're a lot of times when you're doing stuff, you're unlocking things.
Mm-hmm.
And you're unlocking a whole subconscious that's involved, and allowing things to come in that you normally kind of push away. And that's really where it hit me. I there's no other way for me to describe it other than I was haunted by it afterwards.
I get exactly what you mean. You know, I've spoken to many people through interviews and what have you, and doing paranormal investigations are quite similar in that respect. Is a lot of people have this kind of barrier up, you know, that they're not aware of, but it's there. And the more they go out and investigate, or the more they watch the paranormal, whether it's a show or one of these kind of podcasts, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
the more they watch it, you find that the more they open up to it, and the more that barrier comes down without them even realizing it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And they start to maybe, you know, hear things, or, you know, notice things, or get feelings, as we were talking before we came on.
Mm-hmm.
They'll pick up in bits and pieces that they would never have done before, you know. And maybe because obviously you were doing Demon Fighter, what the story was about and what
Yeah,
have you.
yeah.
Well, that stuck with you. And, you know, at night time is your kind of most vulnerable time, because your head's less busy. Well, mine's really isn't, but generally speaking, your head's less busy at night time, you know. And it's funny because I was going to ask you about being on set, because we've heard, you know, like Poltergeist and The Exorcist, and, you know,
Yeah.
various films, people have reported all different kind of things have happened. I know quite a few, there's been a few deaths with the cast of the films and stuff as well. But, you know, what was there anything kind of that you noticed on set thinking that's not right, or?
You know, it's funny because, you know, we filmed all of the exorcism scenes in one location, and they just happened to be at the house that we were staying at. So, you know, it was great planning on, you know, CRA Entertainment, because, you know, the place that we filmed is the place that we stayed, and for 2.5 weeks. And what was unusual, of all things, it was the garage. The garage just felt, over a period of time, uneasy to go into. And I found myself, because they were doing some scenes in the kitchen, they were doing some scenes in the living room, upstairs in the bedrooms, and we were doing scenes in the garage. And what I would do is I would escape to the garage, so I won't be in anybody's way. and I would start going through my lines and really going through them. And I found myself just feeling really uneasy to be in the garage by myself. It
Mhm.
just, it didn't feel, I mean, for lack of a better way of saying this, it didn't feel safe to me. So I was going, wow, this is kind of a strange feeling. And I'm just thinking, maybe it's my going through the scene and being in character and feeling what I would feel in that given scene. But it wasn't that. It was something different. And day after day, we were filming, and I'd go back to my room, and that'd be the night. After a while, I would avoid going to the garage. I didn't want to go. And then there was one time I say, hey, did we have a scene in the garage? I'm going, oh, really? Really? Okay, great. Okay, good. Okay, let's do it. I just don't want to be alone in there, but let's do it anyways.
It was just a play. Did you feel that you weren't wanted there?
I felt, I mean, it just, you have to kind of rely. It's kind of like what we talked about before the show. Those that do paranormal investigation, there's technological tools that you use, but I think none of them can replace our own human intuition to
Mm-hmm.
sense danger or to sense something that's there, um, without us visually seeing that it's there. And we're no different than any other animal, on the planet that senses danger. If we have pets, our pets will notice something before we notice it, and they'll alert us. But we have a lot of the same primal instincts and intuitions. And it was a lot of that, for me. And when you walk into a room and you're by yourself, and it's kind of set up in the way we're supposed to do the scene. But outside of those things, you just felt that I didn't feel like I was alone, even though I was alone in the garage. I felt like there was something over my shoulder. I felt like there was a presence there. I felt, I was so uneasy about it. And this is in daylight. This is in, this is during the day. So I couldn't even imagine if it was at night. So daylight, this was happening.
You see that Jenny's saying that absolutely your gut instinct, but it is, as we were talking before the show, John. Um, it's happened to us a few times. We've been we went to a location in Edinburgh called Canongate Kirk. It's an old graveyard, and it was at night time, but and we just got this heavy. It wasn't demonic or anything like that. That we just weren't wanted in that particular place. I went for a walk down the graveyard as you do when you're not wanted. You still kind of go in,
Mhm.
because that's what we do. Um, but it was just this heavy feeling.
Mhm.
We don't want you here, and as I said that the other week, I was in that corridor. I wanted to be in a certain end of the corridor, and I felt that somebody was standing right in front of me,
Wow.
just standing there watching, kind of thing. As you say, a camera can't pick that up, and doesn't matter what meters or gadgets you've got, that's no way to pick it up, what you're feeling.
Yeah.
So what's your whole I need to ask you, what's your whole kind of point of view in the paranormal? Are you a believer? Are you a skeptic? Are you
No, I mean, I mean, if I were to summarize, I'm a believer. I am certainly a believer, because for us to think that this is it right here, and this is what we see and what we hear and what we experience every day is it, um, is too limited view of life in general,
Mhm.
and how we perceive life and afterlife, and I mean, there's got to be more. It's it's very multi-dimensional. It's very, very, um, yeah. Just look at the technology that we have now, and then we know that there's so many layers and aspects to all things, that life is not black and white. Life isn't, and it's not a situation. because of my belief system, you die and then it's done. No, it's. I've always felt that dying is a transition of being born in another way, and it's hard to define exactly what that way is. But in growing up, you hear stories, but you also experience things that lead you to believe that. And there's certain things that we chalk up as coincidental. It's hard. I don't think anything in life just happens just randomly. There things fall into a certain order, and there it's very much a cause and effect. But I myself, I'm a person that does believe in the hereafter and its presence in our own time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also one that wants to see the proof of that as well. Show me. I want to hear it. I want to feel it. I want to experience it. I'm that way as well.
Yeah, I know. I totally get what what you mean. I mean, my dad, God rest him, he didn't believe at all. Once you're dead. That lights out, end of. You're gone, kind of thing. But I mean, just get back to what you're saying. The word coincidence is a word. No disrespect to anybody that uses it, but it's a word I hate. People say, "Oh, it's a coincidence. It's coincidence." I mean, for instance, right, a lot of paranormal teams experience batteries draining. Whether it's their cameras or whatever it is they're using. And a lot of people might say it's coincidence, but it's one of these things that happen worldwide to paranormal teams all over the world. The batteries drain,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's numerous things it's the same things that happen to teams worldwide. It's too much to be a coincidence. There's too much evidence, for it to be, well, it's just a coincidence. We try and debunk as much as possible. You've got to, you have to debunk. So as we were saying before the show, if you hear a noise, you go looking for the causes of that. Now, it might be an open window, a window's been left open, or it could be anything. Yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas you get these other teams, TV shows, they'll say it's paranormal. I heard a door bang and that's demonic. And it's just say there, I'm not doing any games. They'll leap out the chair and go running.
Exactly right. Just like they're on the way.
Steven Seagal or something like that, right? I'm going to sort this demon out.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
I'm show this demon the door. That's awesome.
It's like to your point. Television, as much as the reality TV, has been part of our culture. And a lot more recently with the paranormal genre shows, it's still a business, and in order for that business to succeed and to survive, there has to be something that's placed in there that might not be genuine, but it's kind of something that's in the script saying, such and such person needs to go into a room and show that they got startled by a noise or something, so that we can continue to watch and believe and see what happens next. And that's the unfortunate part, because it goes from really well-intended and really wanting to do true research to being pure entertainment. And it's losing a lot of the validity of what a lot of people put their time and effort and monies into. So I definitely hear you.
I mean, there are shows out there. I watched one a few weeks ago. I'm not going to name it. It's a UK show, and they were doing a very famous location in the UK. It's called East Drag, but it was a husband and wife. They were doing it, and they came out of bedroom, and the wife screamed. The husband was right beside her.
Yeah.
Screamed. I don't know what it was she seen, felt, whatever, but she screamed. And it was a good 10, 15 seconds later. Her husband was staring right at her. Must have been a good 10 seconds later, maybe
Wow.
screamed because she'd screamed, but nothing had changed. There wasn't any bangs or anything. She screamed it and he's like, ah! You know, I think, seriously, you know, I mean, I watched some of them. You know that way you watch a show, you know it's crap.
Yeah.
To cheer yourself up or to give, you know, because you're fed up watching the serious stuff. I'm going to watch a load of BS for an hour. You know?
Yeah, exactly. No, because sometimes we just need the entertainment. We just need to, you know, just let loose a little bit.
Do you? I've said this on a couple of shows before. I like your opinion on it. You know, as you say, these go shows, they might run 40, 45 minutes, whatever the kind of standard time is, and it's full of bumps and you know, bangs and growls and blah blah blah. But we all know it's not like that. That doesn't happen. Do you think it'd be better if you had a show that showed you both sides of the coin? They showed you maybe a wee bit of what they got, and then it shows you them sitting with nothing for 10, 15 minutes. You know, it mixed it in to show people this is what actually happens.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because it's a risk, and the risk that it's like having dead air time on any show. So you know, there's dead air, and you know, I think that's the worst thing that could happen. Like, let's say a news broadcast, when somebody's delivering the news, if there's that point where there's not anything that's being said or communicated or something happening or explained, there's just dead air where nobody's really saying anything, and it's awkward. That would be the reality of what happens. But in terms of entertainment, people, I think, would resist against that. But to your point, I think if you add something that would be more true to life, I think people would respect that. Because I think people in the paranormal community want to be heard, and they want to people to understand the seriousness of their pursuit and what they're passionate about. And they're talking about a subject that affects every single person. Every person in the world, you know, is affected by this in one way or the other. So I believe it's pretty brave to go into that pursuit. And I think, just in my opinion, I think I would have more respect for somebody who explains that, yeah, sometimes you go in and nothing happens. Nothing's on the readings. You don't get any sense of anything, because that would be true to life. Where in other shows, it's just could be a creak of the door or anything, and they're running down the hallways because they feel that they're being chased by a demon. You know, they add a lot of drama to the situation.
Well, that's exactly it. You know, you hit the nail on the head, as we say here. It's I mean, we'll do investigations, and we done one in the Edinburgh Vaults a couple of weeks ago, and I put a thing on the page the next day just telling people, look, we get nothing. You know, we were in there for, I think it was about 4 hours, something like that, and we got absolutely, there's no story to tell. You know, it was a good night. We met some interesting, you know, another team. We spent time with a team that we work locally with, so it was good for that point of view. But paranormal-wise, activity-wise, flat all night. And I think you've got to tell people that. You've got to be honest. I mean, there are teams over here that will say, we went out last night and the evidence we got was absolutely amazing. But you never see it. They don't put it up on their page.
Exactly.
You know, it's a paragraph on their page how great it was. They may throw in a couple of photographs of them standing with other people, but that's it. You never, ever see this amazing evidence. And I'm not saying that they're lying, but if you're going to say, oh, we get amazing evidence, then put it up on your page and share it. Let people see what you got.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you're so, I totally agree with what you're saying. It's, it adds validity to what you're doing, and people would respect that as being genuine and real, and trying to really find the truth in what you're doing, and what's out there. So yeah, people, I think you and I talked beforehand. I think people in the paranormal community have lost faith and respect, rather, um, for some of the current shows that are going on right now, because they're just over dramatized. And
Mhm.
being in that field, it's just not the way it is.
Exactly. 2000%. As people look at these shows and they think we're all, idiots and what have you, but we're just normal people who enjoy what we do. And it's not that we're reaching out saying, please take us serious because this is what happens. We just want people to realise that we're all trying to convert people. I'd like to see people, I'm not trying to convert you to believing,
Hmm.
but have an open mind. You know,
Yeah.
don't if you hear a noise or a bump or a bang, and if you can't explain it, then think, well, maybe it is something.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, I know there's these shows there that like to preach and blah blah. Go away. Um,
Exactly right.
we do because we love it, and if someone watches us and thinks, well, maybe there is something to that, then
Yeah.
job done. And we've always said to people they're welcome to come out on an investigation. Our team we work with called SPIG as well. They say,
Yeah.
come out in an investigation. You don't need to be involved. You can stand in the background, just watch what's going on. You might feel something or see something that you can't explain, or you might know. But just give it a go. It's the best, as you say, John. The camera and that can't pick it up. So the best way to experience is just go out and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I have a question for you. Of all the time that you've done this, what has been an experience or a couple of experiences that you've had where you just simply could not explain what you just witnessed?
There's last year we done an estate here called Caldwell,
Mhm.
and it's an old manor house. It dates back to the early 1700s.
Mhm.
But a 280-acre estate, but the house is abandoned now. And we done 10 investigations there over 2 months. First investigation we had what we call an Ecophonic. It's an app, it's the only app we use. And the team were hearing what they described as a sharp, there was 70s there, I think, that night, a sharp intake of breath, but it wasn't through the app. I heard a lady's whispering, but I've still got it. I'll send it to you.
Wow.
A sentence, it was a lady and it was whispered and it was clear as a bell.
Wow. Wow.
And we've got an American team, Jennifer, who runs it. She's really good with audio. So I sent this recording away to 11 different people. And I didn't tell them anything about it. I just said, look, I'm sending you this. Tell me what you think. And they all came back and said, that's not through the app.
Mm.
That real time. She was next to you. We
Wow.
thought some kind of Latin. I listened over and over and over again. We thought it was some kind of Latin, but it was Jim Martin from the Spirit Realm Network. He broke it down and he says, what she's saying, she's asking you, is your light better now?
Oh my goodness. Wow.
He says, what's your footage? So I watched the footage back and we've got an EMF meter and it was sitting beside me. So I moved it and it lit up to red. So
Mhm.
I moved it again away from me and it went to red again. And then this lady's voice, is your light better?
Yeah.
I couldn't
Wow.
explain that. Also, another big experience we had was we were out with a team called SPIG, Scotland's Paranormal Investigations Group. and we were in the same school I was telling you about. And it was a swing door, a double set of swing doors with big bits of glass in the middle. There was three of us standing just before we went live, and this door shut itself and was swinging itself. We couldn't explain it. It was held on by an old-fashioned hook and a latch on the wall.
Yeah.
Nobody touched the door. There was nobody else there. So we went live, and it happened another twice during the live. The door came off the hook itself and was swinging. And we did it on the live. We tried to debunk it. We showed everybody the way it was attached to the wall, what you had to do to actually, detach it, and we could not get it. I would say that's the two. We've had quite a few experiences, but I would say that's the two that stick in my mind. That I'm not saying we never state anything is paranormal. We always just say, look, we can't explain it.
Exactly right. Yeah. I mean, that's fantastic, but that adds a lot to the integrity of what you're doing and how you're doing this, and it makes everything that you do more believable. So that's fantastic.
It's just, I know there's a lot of people we use. It's called a K2 meter. It's used for picking up electromagnetic fields and stuff, and it can be manipulated. Radio waves can set it off. Your phone can set it off. There's various things that can make it light up. And so a lot of people put them down, but the thing I find hard to debunk is if you've got a K2 meter that's sitting there, now when it's on, there's only one wee green lights. It just sits there, there's one light on. If you've got a K2 meter that sits there for a certain amount of time, and then you ask a question and you say, can you make that box go to yellow? And it goes to yellow and then back up again. And then we always say, can you confirm by making it go to yellow again and then back off? And it does it again.
Wow.
It sits dormant until you ask them. To me, you can't debunk that.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. That's great.
You can't.
That's the way to do it.
You can't program a box just to go to yellow on the command of your voice.
Yeah, exactly right. Wow, that's amazing. My friend, I'm going to have to, I apologize for being rude. I'm going to have to go to my next appointment. So,
but actually, I was going to just run for an hour, but I know we've ran over time. Do you know what I mean?
No, this is great. I love it.
That's totally fine. I do want to get you back, but I know you need to rush off. But I will drop you a mail because there's something I want to talk to you and Jeff about. I've got a wee idea. It was Craig that says to talk to you about it, but we'll just wind up. So, what's Demon? A big thank you to John for coming in.
My pleasure. I love it. Thank you for having me. My goodness,
it's been an absolute pleasure. Anybody who's not watched Demon Fighter, get it on Amazon Prime, YouTube, and
Hulu. Yeah, you can see it on Hulu as well.
And check out CRA's other films. But we'll say goodnight just now, folks, and let John get to his next appointment. And thanks for watching, folks. And take care for now.
Okay, take care, brother. You have a great one. It's great to speak with you.
Bye.